Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, CHULLIN Chaf Aleph. We begin 15 lines from the top of the Amud and connecting to yesterday, where Zeiri taught us that by a behema or a bird, if the mafrek is the backbone and roiv of the bus or most of the flesh in that area gets severed, the animal is now considered nevela, halachically dead. The Gemara today picks up on that topic and applies it to a person, lo yaleinu, as well. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mar Shmuel nishbara mafrekes v'roiv basar ima. If by a human a similar phenomenon happens, there's a breakage of the mafrekes, the backbone, and most of the flesh as well, he's considered mace, mitame be'oil. In fact, he imparts tumah by way of oil like any other corpse. So anything that's found under the same roof contracts his tumah. So even though there's still some signs of life, this type of severe injury is considered termination of life. Now the question is, in history we find a story where a similar thing occurred, and it seems like it wasn't as severe as described here, and still he was considered to have died. This was the story of Eli HaKohen. So the question is, what about that story, the story of Eli, that it was merely mafrekes below roiv basar havoi? It was the backbone, but the roiv basar was not affected, and still the pasuk considered him mace. Says the Gemara Zikna Shani. You can't prove from there. It's different because of his old age. That factor contributes to his death, despite the fact that it was just the backbone without the roiv basar. But typically, both elements are required to achieve that result. T'chsev, as we find in the pasuk, that it's actually attributed to his old age. So when the messenger informed, made mention of the holy ark that was taken captive by the Pelishtim, Vayipoil, so Eli HaKohen dropped, collapsed, Me'al HaKisei, Acharanis, backwards off the chair, Ba'ad Yad Hashar, Vatishave Mafraktoi, Vayomes. As soon as his backbone broke, Misa occurred. And why? Kizaken ish v'chaved, because of his old age. So in this case, the breakage of the mafrekes brought about that result, but typically it's the mafrekes plus roiv basar that is needed. Here come some more scenarios where a severe type of injury would be tantamount to misa. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Yonasan, kroi kedug, if a person was ripped apart like a fish, mitame be'oil, once again, is considered like a mace, and is mitame be'oil, even though he might still be exhibiting signs of life. This type of severe experience, it constitutes misa. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak migaboy, provided it occurred on his back, with the spinal cord area, but otherwise, if it's from the front, it isn't necessarily considered as severe. Amar Shmuel asa gistra. Now we shift to a behema. The person slices the animal into two, right down the middle, right down the width of the animal. The animal is now considered nevela, a carcass, despite the fact that once again you might still see some floundering, because this type of cut brings about instant misa. Amar Belazar, another example, nitel hayorech v'chalul shalah. If the thigh was yanked out of position with the gap underneath it, nevela. Once again, the animal is regarded as nevela. Hechidami chalul shalah. What does that mean? The chalal, the gap underneath it. Marava means like this: kol sherevutza v'niris chasera. We're talking that the thigh was dislocated, and the area which would envelop that thigh is now exposed, to the point that even when it's revutza, when it's crouched, where typically in that position things would be covered up, no, it's open and exposed. So not only is the yarech out of place, dislocated, but the halal, there's a gap underneath it which is clear and visible. And that's considered such a rearrangement of the animal that makes it a nevela. It's not only is it a treifa, it's even more than that. It's a nevela. It's considered like dead in halacha. Tanan Hasan, we have another Mishnah that speaks about a similar type of halacha. Mesechas Ahalais. Hutazu, the head, Rashain, the heads of the lizard, of the various types of creatures that are metame. There are 8 of them in the Torah. One of them is a lizard, right? So let's say their heads were severed. Aval pi shehem mefarkasin. Even though they're still floundering, you still see signs of life, still jumping up. Tameim, they have tumah right away because they're considered mace. The fact that there's still some, floundering, is just like a lizard's tail that can jump around even if they're severed, because it doesn't have a central nervous system, so it already has that sort of embedded energy and allows it to jump around, despite the fact that it's really not connected to any form of life. Kiznav halatah, like the tail of a lizard, shem varcheses, that will jump around even after it's been severed. Now, we spoke about the head being removed. My hutasu. To what extent is that considered? It means actually severed, totally removed. In which case, it's considered like that. Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Mani, quotes Rabbi Ami, kemitzvas kavdolas, oila asoif. The term hutazu is defined as the act which is done by an oila asoif. So you have an oila bird, where you're meant to do the malika, but you don't necessarily completely separate the head from the body of the bird. And even there, it is considered dead in terms of tumah, even though they're technically connected. But since the vital signs were totally disconnected, it's considered as good as dead. Amalei, Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Asi. So Rabbi Yirmiyah asked Rabbi Asi for some clarification. You compared it to the oila sa'if, whose head is separated from its body. How far? To what extent are we talking about? Ka'avdolas oila sa'if l'rabbanon. You see, we're going to encounter a machlokes coming up very soon. How one does malika by an oila sa'if. You see, by the chatos bird, you're only meant to cut through one siman. By the oila bird, 2 simanim. Now, do you totally cut through them? Totally sever them? Or do you just cut through a majority of each siman? By the oila sa'if. According to the Rabbanan, you cut through the entire 2 simanim. According to Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, a majority of those simanim, as we're going to see soon in the Gemara. So back to our story. Mishnah says the lizard's head was hutazu, were removed. It's considered dead and it's metame. Rish Lakish explains, totally removed. Rabbi Asi compares it to oila sa'if. Says a Rahimra to Rabbi Asi, could you please explain to me, can you elaborate what you had in mind? There are 2 opinions regarding how to do oila sa'if. Are you following the Rabbanan's track? That both simanim are completely severed. In which case you're exactly like Rish Lakish, who also speaks about a completely severed head. Or Reb Shimon. Are you going to go to Reb Shimon, who suffices with cutting most of the simanim? In which case you're disagreeing with Rish Lakish. He says it was a complete severance. You're applying misa even to a partial or a majority severance. Amrullah, he says, yeah, the second way. Kavdalas, oilas oif, Reb Lezer Shimon. I'm going like Reb Lezer Shimon's track. Uplaginin, I'm actually disagreeing with Rish Lakish. I hold that even if it's mostly severed, it also has that status of a mace. Ikadamri, there's another version. Reb Shimon Lakish Amar Hutazu Mamash. So in this version, it's more clear what they had in mind. Rish Lakish says that when the Mishnah applies tumah to the lizard with the severed head, it means completely severed. Both siman were completely severed. Rabbi Asi Amar says no. We don't have to go that far. Even a bit less than that accomplishes the same status. Rabbi Asi Omar Rabbi Amrani, Kavdolas, Oilas Oiv, like you do Malik on the Oilas Oiv, like which version? Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon. That it's enough to have B'roiv Shnai, most of the two Simonim. And that's enough to give it a status of mace. Oh! So while we speak of the two Shitas by Oilas Oiv, here comes a sugi. My Rabbanon, Umay Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon. Where do we find this machlokes? And what's it based on? What are the sourcings? The Sanya, we have a pasuk that is discussed in the Bryce. So a fellow who sinned and need to bring a carbon, he can't afford an animal, chatas. Next option is a pair of birds. One is a chatas bird, one is an oila bird. The pasuk is describing the akrava of the birds. So first you do the chatas, which as we explained, gets only a partial malika, one siman. As is clearly articulated in the pasuk, it says malak es roishay mimul arpai, right? You do malika at the back of the neck. V'lo yadol, they're not fully separating, so you do just one siman. And then comes the oila soif, right? It's a pair of birds, chatas, and then oila be'es. Hasheni, now the second bird, yasa oila, he does like an oila. And the pasuk adds the word kamishpat, as is required. Now, what is the pasuk referring to? Something of a process that had been described, and this is modeled after that. We have two ways to learn. So according to the Tanakam and the Brisa, kamishpat chatas behema. The oila is comparable in the process like the process applied to the chatas behema, like the animal chatas discussed earlier, because after all, this is coming as a substitute. Ideally, you should bring an animal chatas. Instead, it's bring the birds. So when the pasuk says, do this like kamishpat, it means like the chatas animal. Regarding what? We'll see later. There are halachas that are going to be compared, that are going to be that it's going to be compared to. There are certain elements that we find in the chatas behema the oilas oif will copy. Okay, now you're telling me that kamishpat means chatas behema. It's following the system of the chatas behema. Maybe not. El kamishpat chatas oif. Maybe the pasuk simply means that the procedure applied to the oila bird emulates the procedure applied to the chatas bird. After all, they're a pair. No, keshu aimer. You can't say that because when the pasuk tells us in Parshas Vayikra regarding donated, birds, it says v'yikri vai, a different type of oila bird. It's a donated oila. It says you makrav this one. It's setting it apart, setting it separate from the chatas bird. Chalak ha-kosav ben chatas ha'oif lo'ilas ha'oif. By saying v'krivoi in a singular term, this is going to be processed differently than the chatas bird. The Torah is telling you. Unlike a chatas bird, where you only do one siman, by the oila bird you do two siman. So back to our story. Umani mekayim kamishpat. What then does the pasuk mean when it says you process the oila bird kamishpat as the accepted procedure? It doesn't mean like the procedure of the chatas oif. That's already been ruled out. Kamishpat chatas behema means that you compare it to the chatas behema as follows, regarding three halachas. First of all, ma chatas behema in a ba, we turn Talmud Bavli. Just like when one brings a chatas behema, it must be financed with personal money. El ben CHULLIN, private money. You can't use maser sheni money. How do we know? We'll see later in the Gemara. Number two, ubayayim. Chatas behema is only processed by day. Pasuk says, "Kibayayim hazeh," right, on Yom Kippur. Ubiyadei yemanis, it's processed using the kohen's right hand. That's how he does the akrava. Af oilas oif, likewise. All these three halachas apply to an oila bird as well. Eina ba alamin achulin, you buy it with chulin money. Ubayayim, processed by day, and with the kohen's right hand. Ubiyadei yemanis. Okay, continues the Gemara. So you're comparing the oilas oif to the chatas behema. What about the form of shchita or malika? Perhaps compare it regarding that as well. Ima lahalan. So perhaps just like by the chatas behema, b'reiv shnayim, when you do shchita on an animal, you cut through most of two simanim. Avkan b'reiv shnayim. Perhaps over here as well. But the oila bird just cut through with a malika, of course, with the fingernail, but just do most of the two simanim. You don't have to complete and fully cut through the simanim. Just most is enough. Talmud loimar. Comes another pasuk. Umalak. It says a malak is roishay v'hikter mizbecha. So the pasuk describes the steps of the oila soif as follows: you do a malika on the head, you makter on the mizbech. Now, you continue the pasuk. It says, You take the blood and you squeeze it on the mizbeach. Hold it. It's gone. It's already burnt on the mizbeach. V'hikter. So if you read the pasuk, literally in order, how are you going to get it done? How can you do blood after you burnt the... apparently the pasuk is telling you as follows. The pasuk, by connecting Umalak to V'hikter, is simply describing to us the process of Malika, telling you that the Malika should be a full severance, comparable to the act of Akhtara. Not that you're doing it in this order, because technically you do Malika, then the blood, and then Hakhtara. The close proximity, the connection between Umalak and V'hikter simply is coming to describe, to provide precise instructions in terms of how to do the Malika. It's comparable to the act of Hakhtara, to the burning of the bird on the Mizbeach, which is Ma'akhtara, just like by burning. The head is burned separately, and so is the body, because they're two separate items. Ma'akhtara. Haroish ba'atzmai, the head of the bird is burned separately. V'alguf ba'atzmai, the body separately. Why? How do we know that? Because look at the pasuk later. Pasuk says that you're makta here it says you makta the head, and later on it says you're makta the body. Clearly, they're two separate aktaris. Likewise, when you do malika, you meant to separate them. It's a full severance. Af malika, hareish ba'atzma, v'guf ba'atzmai. The act of malika in this instance, by an oilas oiv, is meant to accomplish a complete separation between the head and the body. Okay, so that's Tanakama. That's Shitas Chachamim. How do we do malika by an oila bird? Complete severance of both simanim. And soon we'll see the opposing view of Rav Lezer Shimon, who says, no, you do, the majority of these simanim. You don't completely separate. Okay, Rav Shmuel Eimer. Rav Shmuel continues. He says like this: Kamishpat. When the pasuk describes the oila so'ev being processed kamishpat, as is required, which system is it referring to? Kamishpat chatas so'ev. No, it's comparing it to chatas so'ev. Ma chatas so'ev mimul oirev. Af oila so'ev mimul oirev. What's the point of comparing to chatas so'ev? Just like by the chatas so'ev, the pasuk articulates the precise location of a malika, which is mimul oirev. The area, the back of the neck, which is next to the oirev, the back of the head. The same thing with the oila so'ev. Af oila so'ev, even though there's no pasuk describing exactly as such, we compare it to the chatas so'ev, and there the malika is also going to be mimul oirev. Says the Gemara, okay, if you're comparing the two birds, perhaps compare them entirely. So perhaps just like by the chatas so'ev, you do malika on just one siman, without separating things completely. Right? So you only do a malika on one siman, you don't do a full separation, meaning you don't cut through the second siman. Perhaps by the oila bird as well. When you do a malika, you only do one siman, and you don't separate the second siman. Here goes the other pasuk we had before. Vikrivoy. This is back in Vayikra Aleph. Instead of Vihikriv, it says Vikrivoy, setting him apart. The oila so'ev is different than the chatas so'ev. To say that you do a malika on both siman. Rabbi Lezer Shimon Omer, he says like this: Kamishpat means Kamishpat chatas so'ev. Right? So just like the previous Rabbi Shmuel's shita, he also goes with that. Kamishpat by the oila so'ev means we compare it to the chatas so'ev. And he compares it all the way. Mala halam. Oiches baroisha baguf umaza. So we move on to the next element. Just like by the chatas so'ev, the head and the body is still connected even after malika. In fact, when he does the hazah, when he sprays the blood, oiches baroisha baguf umaza, he holds on to the head and the body. Afkan here is all by the oila so'ev. Oiches baroisha baguf, he clutches the head and the body of the bird umaza and does the hazah. Now what does that mean? Maika Amar, what do you mean just like by the chatas you hold both? Where do we find the pasuk you hold both? He means like this, they're connected. Inevitably, you're holding both, they're one unit. Hechigamar means like this, Malal, just like by the chatas bird. Kushu achus, haroish, baguf, when the head is still connected to the body. Mada, that's when he does the hazah, because we all know by chatas so'ev, you only cut through one siman, and inevitably it's still connected. Afkan here as well by the oila so'ev. Kshu achas v'roish baguf maza. The hazah, the spraying of the blood is done when the head is still connected to the body, because you don't do a full severance. So although it's a bit different than chatas so'ev, where over there it's only one siman, here it's two, but you don't completely cut through both siman. You leave some intact, some connected. Oh, how do we know? If you're going to compare it to chatas, compare it all the way. Ima lahalan. So perhaps just like by the chatas so'ev, b'siman echad, you only do one siman. Avkan b'siman echad, by the oila sa'if, only one siman as well. Tamalayma b'krivai, oh, that's that other pasuk that sets it apart from the chatas, that has a different procedure. So it's somewhat different, but not completely different. According to the Tanakama, which is the Chachamim, it's very different. Chatas sa'if is one siman, oila sa'if is two siman, and all the way through. Whereas according to Rabbi Shimon, Chatas sa'if is one siman, oila sa'if is two simanim, but it's not all the way through, it's just mostly cut. Ask the Gemara of Tanakama. So basically, Tanakama already learns from umalak vehikter, from the arrangement of the pasuk there, that you're meant to do a full malik on the oila sa'if. Right? Two simanim all the way through. So now, let's go back. There was another pasuk, v'hikrivai. According to him, it's unneeded. V'hikrivai is telling you that oila sa'if is run differently than a chatas sa'if. Lamali, what's that for? We really know. From umalak v'hikter, the process is totally different. The answer is like this. You need both psukim to work in tandem to achieve this clarity. If not for the v'hikrivai, I would think, Maika mishpat k'mishpat chatas sa'if. When the pasuk applies the word mishpat to the oila sa'if, I would say it's like the chatas sa'if. And just like by the chatas sa'if, you don't do both simanim, the oila sa'if as well. V'i mishum umalak v'hikter. And regarding the pasuk umalak v'hikter, which indicates that it's a different type of system, that is a full separation, I would think, no, it isn't necessarily coming to teach us anything regarding the extent of the cut. I would apply it to different halacha. I would say the point of a umalak v'hikter is tell you location in the Beis HaMikdash, where to do the malika, that's all. I would think, just like you offer, you burn on the top of the mizbeach, af malika. But the malika should be done there as well, on the upper area of the mizbeach. But now that it says vikrivai, to tell you that oila sa'if is different, follows a different system of chatas sa'if. So now you can no longer apply kamishpat, the word kamishpat, to tell you that they're on the same procedure. Rather, kamishpat means that the oila sa'if is similar to the chatas sa'if regarding those halachas we said before, CHULLIN, daytime and right hand. So now, D'reish bein amiho. So now you can go a step further. Once you've established the oila sa'if needs two simanim, different than the chatas sa'if, which only needs one siman, now we take it a step further. We go to a malak v'hikter to tell you how far we go. You've got to cut them through entirely. Completely separate. Harosh ba'atzmai, v'agav ba'atzmai. Okay, so the bottom line is, we have this one machlekes here. Because by the chatas sa'if, we all know it's one siman. Oila sa'if is two simanim. The question is, how far do we go? Majority, or cut through the simanim completely? Rabbanan say completely, based on their sourcings, and Rabbi Shimon says, no. Although you cut both simanim, but roiv is enough. All the best to you and atzlacha, Rab.